Alright, this video is on Math Expressions Chapter 5, Lesson 6, which is on area and perimeter. This should sound very familiar to the kids. They had this in 3rd grade as well. This is kind of more of a review, and then we take it up one notch in 4th grade as well. So, obviously the perimeter is the outside and area is inside. So the perimeter of an object, of course, is the total distance around that object. I always think of perimeter of like a backyard fence. It's going around the area of your yard. But to find the perimeter, all you really have to do is add up all of the outside distances together. So if I have a rectangle here with a side of 6, 3, 6, and 3, all I do is add up all 4 of those side lengths to get my perimeter. So 6 plus 6 is 12, 3 plus 3 is 6, and then 12 plus 6 is 18. So my perimeter for this rectangle is 18. The good news is that all of Chapter 5, we're only going to be asked to find the perimeter and area of squares and rectangles. Okay, so the good news is that we do know that the opposite sides of rectangles are the same length. And so a lot of times they'll give you a rectangle with only one side labeled, but you should know then, therefore, what the other side is, right? Across, the opposite one would be the same. We also know that all 4 sides of a square are the same length. We know that property. So once again, if you know one side of a square, you do know all 4 sides of a square. So here's a good example of what I'm talking about. Okay, so here's a rectangle. We have an 8 for the length and 4 for the width. So if I know that, then I also know that the opposite here is 8, and then the opposite of the 4 is also 4. So now that I can fill that in, and now I can go ahead and add. So I have 8 plus 8, and I know that's 16. And then 4 plus 4 is another 8. And then, of course, 16 plus 8 is 24. So I know that the perimeter of this rectangle is 24. So once again, you just kind of add, add, add. Make sure you're adding all 4 of the numbers up together. Area of an object is how many square units are inside of that yard. So once again, I go back to my backyard illustration. The perimeter is the fence around the yard. Well, the area is the yard itself. How much area do you have inside of that yard? How big is that yard inside? Well, to find the area of an object, all you really have to do is just multiply its length and its width. So a lot of times we talk about the formula that area equals length times width, and we'll be using that a lot in class. So length is the long ways and width is going up and down. So in this case, area equals 6 times 4, which area therefore is 24. So to find the area of these objects, all we do is multiply the length times the width. Now, this is going to be, I hope, really, really easy for the kids in class because we've been doing so many area models, or we did so many area models in Chapter 2 this year that they should be really familiar with how to find the area of a box. So 7 times 3 is the area of this rectangle, and we know that's 21. And for this rectangle here, we have 8 times 2, and that equals 16. So the area equals 16. So a lot of times, this is where 4th grade has to take a step up, and we got to really start applying what we know about area and perimeter. So a lot of times, you just have to take what they give you and use what you know. So here's the situation. We have an area of a square is 64 square units. So first of all, we got to see it. So here's my square, and I know that the area is going to equal 64. I know that. And I do also know from the data here that one of its side lengths is 8. Okay. What is the square's perimeter? So my real goal here is that I want to find the perimeter of this square. So here's the deal. Using what I know a couple things here. First of all, I know that area equals length times width. So the area here has to be 8 times something. Okay, but I already know what the area is. So I know the area is 64. So 64 equals 8 times something. Now, the good news is that because this is a square, I actually kind of already know this too, because if one side is 8, all of the sides are 8. So to figure this out, I know that 8 times 8 equals 64. So the missing side lengths are all 64. Well, now I can use this information that all of them are 8s, and now I can solve for the perimeter. So perimeter is going to be 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. Once again, perimeter is adding up all four sides. So really, this is just repeated addition. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. So 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 is going to be 32. So the perimeter of this square is 32 units. So here's the other way, where they give you the perimeter in one of the side lengths, and you have to find the area. So perimeter of a rectangle is 32 units. Now these definitely get a little bit more difficult. So here we go. So once again, you got to see what's going on. So let's get that rectangle going. And I know that all the way around, all four sides together, the perimeter equals 32. Okay, so that's going to be this length, this length, this length, and this length. All together is 32. But I also know that one of these lengths is 8. Okay, so here's the deal. If I know that this side is 8, then I also know that this side is 8. Okay, so I still have to figure out these missing side lengths, right? I got to know what those are. So to figure this out, what I want to do is kind of do a little bit of process elimination. So right now I have 32, which is my perimeter. And what I actually want to do to figure out the other lengths is I actually want to take away what I have. So I want to take this 8 and this 8 out. So I want to actually subtract 16 from my perimeter to figure out how much is left. Okay? So just do a little subtraction problem here. I'm going to borrow, and this is going to become that, and then we have 16. So wow, this is a interesting example that I accidentally chose. So in this case, because the 16 has to be what's left, so what that means is that this 16 here has to be the total of this length and that length. So, and once again, they have to be the same, right? So 16 divided by two sides is going to be 8 each. And I honestly did that on accident. I did not mean for all four sides to be the same length, but that's what happened in this case. So now I know that if the perimeter is 32 and one of the side lengths is 8, then the other side lengths are 8 as well. And so now I can use that information to find the area. And area is just going to be length times width. So 8 times 8 is area, and area is going to be 64.